I am making this video because I really want to tell you about this book. This book changed my life. I discovered it in a bookshop in Pai in northern Thailand 8 years ago. I know exactly when because I actually wrote my name and the date in the book. It was one of those chance encounters. It kind of jumped off the shelf at me. And this is the book where I learned about the 5 Tibetan rites. Honestly, it did change my life. It's endorsed on the back by Martin Sheen, who we have to assume is the actor Martin Sheen. He says, "I have done the 5 rites and passed ancient secret of the Fountain of Youth on to many friends over the years. I recommend them without reservation." I checked, he is still alive. So that's a good endorsement, isn't it? It's written by Peter Kelder. I tried to find out about him, but there's not really much known. On Wikipedia, the only thing on there, they actually got from this. This is the about the author section. It says Peter Kelder was raised by adoptive parents in the Midwestern United States, and while in his teens, he left home to embark on adventures. It goes on to say, Kelder asserts that Colonel Bradford, the pseudonym for the book's main character, was a real individual. It also says that Kelder is an intensely private man who does not wish to reveal more to the public than these brief details. He feels that his book speaks for itself and that issues concerning himself and Colonel Bradford can serve only to detract from the validity of the simple, straightforward message which is his offering to the world. I really appreciate that. He didn't want to make it about himself. You know, he didn't want to do interviews. If it was nowadays, he'd have to do social media, wouldn't he? Then it says, while he does not reveal when he was born, Mr. Kelder is very much alive, well, and productive today, nearly 60 years after his book was first published. So the first version of this book was actually published in 1939, which is very interesting, on the eve of the Second World War. That was called The Eye of Revelation, and then it was republished as The Ancient Secret of the Fountain of Youth, probably for marketing purposes, later on in 1985. That's a bit about the history of the book. Now, the story is that he met Colonel Bradford in a park in Southern California in the 30s. They sparked up a friendship. They started hanging out, going to each other's house, probably to drink tea. You know, eventually Colonel Bradford starts talking more and more about this Fountain of Youth that he's heard natives in India talking about, because he was a retired British Army colonel and he's travelled a lot. He's talking about the Fountain of Youth and he's feeling a bit old and decrepit, walks with a cane, and so he decides he's going to go back to India to look for this Fountain of Youth. He invites Kelder to go with him. Kelder's like, nah, don't really fancy that, got stuff to do, so he doesn't go with him. So the colonel goes off. 4 years pass. Kelder gets a letter from him, and the colonel says that he has found the Fountain of Youth and that he's going to bring it back to Kelder. So Kelder's very excited about this, and a few months later, a visitor comes to the house, and when Kelder answers the door, he doesn't recognize the person standing there. Confusion turned to bewilderment and then amazed disbelief as I stared at the figure before me. Slowly, I realized that the features of the face did indeed resemble those of Colonel Bradford, but this man looked as the colonel might have looked years ago in the prime of his life. Instead of a stooping, sallow old man with a cane, I saw a tall, straight figure. His face was robust. What does a robust face look like, I wonder? And he had a thick growth of dark hair with scarcely a trace of grey. I really like this. "It is indeed I," said the colonel, "and if you don't ask me inside, I'll think your manners badly lacking." He found the Fountain of Youth and he has transformed himself so much that his friend Kelder doesn't recognize him. I like this story a lot. Apparently it's true. So they reignite their friendship, and the colonel says that he has been living in a monastery in Tibet and starts to teach Kelder all of the things that he learned while he was in the monastery. He says, "The first important thing I was taught after entering the monastery was this: The body has 7 energy centers, which in English could be called vortexes. The Hindus call them chakras. Well, we know that word. They are powerful energy fields invisible to the eye, but quite real nonetheless. These 7 vortexes govern the 7 ductless glands in the body's endocrine system, and the endocrine glands, in turn, regulate all of the body's functions, including the process of aging. Then he describes where the chakras are, and he goes on to say, in a healthy body, each of these vortexes revolves at great speed, permitting vital life energy, also called prana, to flow upward through the endocrine system. But if one or more of these vortexes begins to slow down, the flow of vital energy is inhibited or blocked. And well, that's just another name for aging and ill health. These spinning vortexes extend outward from the flesh in a healthy individual, but in the old, weak and sickly, they hardly reach the surface. The quickest way to regain youth, health and vitality is to start these energy centers spinning normally again. There are 5 simple exercises that will accomplish this. Any one of them alone is helpful, but all 5 are required to get best results. These 5 exercises are not really exercises at all. The lamas call them rites, so that is how I shall refer to them too. So there you go. He then tells them what these 5 rites are. So the first one is spinning. The second is a kind of leg lift. The third is like camel pose, the fourth is tabletop, and the fifth is like down dog to cobra, if you're familiar with all of those yoga poses. And you do each of those 5 exercises 21 times. So like I do with all books like this, if it says that something has benefits, I try it myself and see what effect it has. And I like to give things a fair trial of at least 21 days. So that's what I did. I read the book very quickly and I started immediately. At first, it was quite difficult. I got a bit dizzy, I would say minimally difficult. But after the 3rd day of doing them, I was brushing my teeth and I started to become aware of feeling different. And it's very hard to describe, but it was this sensation of being really rooted through my feet and of like a strength or energy that I didn't have before. And I felt really good. So good that I was like, I'm definitely going to keep doing these. So I did. About 2 weeks after that, I got asked to do a photo shoot for the first time in my life. I was 38 then. I was like, this is cool. That one I didn't necessarily attribute to doing the rites, but then within the next 2 weeks, another 2 photographers had asked me to do photo shoots. And I was like, well, the only thing that I'm doing different is the rites. So I've always attributed that as being a very measurable thing that happened to me. But the rites changed the way that I felt so much that I kept doing them. The following year, stuff happened and I stopped doing them. And when I started up again, because of the difference in how I felt, I resolved to never stop doing them again. I've continued to do them ever since 2016, 17, kind of that crossover. I have been doing them pretty religiously. And there are times when I'm traveling when I can't do them because of space or other confines. And after 4 or 5 days, if I can't do them, I start to notice it. Sometimes I get sick, but as soon as I start doing them again, I feel well. Because of that, because of how they make me feel, it's something that I intend to do for the rest of my life. And that's why I'm really telling you about it, because I honestly try them, give them a fair trial and see how they make you feel. If you want more motivation to do them, buy this book, and there's loads of testimonials in here. I will read you one. There's pages of them. This says, I have honestly never felt better in my life. I am 56 years old. I've lost weight. I'm strong and energetic, and I look and feel 15 years younger. Not a week goes by that somebody doesn't remark how amazingly young I look. Most say I don't look a day over 40. My children in their mid-30s are amazed at my energy and youthful looks, so now they are doing the 5 rights. That's Esther Black from Salinas, California, and that is not her real accent. Yeah, I think that's all I really want to say is try them, the 5 rights, and see what effect they have on you. Thanks for listening. Bye.